Okay, there is a quorum. There are 5 of us here at City Hall, Councilors Bergman, Sanchez, Parkinson, myself, Singh, and Barlow. I know we're joined by Councilors Schachter and Broderick online. I also know that Councilor Carpenter is downstairs as we're about to head into executive session once we have our agenda. Is there a motion to adopt our agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Singh. Is there a second? Thank you, Councilor Bergman. Is there any discussion? All in favor, then please say aye.
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 Or any opposed? That carries unanimously amongst those voting. Our next item is a planned executive session. And City Attorney Brown, I see you online, as is our practice. We'll turn to you for some factual context supporting our going into executive session this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President Travers. Good evening. So until there is a ratified contract, it would be premature for the general public to know the status of the city's labor relations negotiations. That would clearly place the city at a substantial disadvantage. And therefore, the open meeting law does make an exception to allow for the council to receive an update on negotiations during an executive session. So that is the basis for the request for the executive session in this matter.
Thank you. Going into executive session requires a 2-part motion. First, a finding that executive session is warranted. And Councilor Singh, I'll turn to you for a motion on the first item.
Yes, I move to make specific finding that premature general public knowledge of the status of the city's labor negotiations would clearly place the city at a substantial disadvantage.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion? Thank you, Councilor Bergman. If there is no discussion on that item, we will go to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That is unanimous. And Councilor Singh, could I ask you for the second motion?
Based upon that finding, move to enter executive session pursuant to 1 VSA 313A1B to discuss the status of bargaining successor labor relations agreement with ASME Local 1343, and to include in attendance the city's bargaining team and staff from the mayor's office, the Human Resource Department, the Department of Finance Administration, and the city's attorney's office.
Thank you, Councilor Singh. Is there a second? Thank you, Councilor Bergman. If there is no discussion on the item, we'll go to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Are any opposed? That carries unanimously. So the council is now in executive session. We will be downstairs in the Busher Conference Room. Folks should feel free to stay here. Public forum is warned for a time certain of 6:30 p.m. And so we will strive to be back before then. Thank you. We had warned public forum for a time certain of 6:30 p.m. Just before we turned to public forum, we had also warned our sitting as the Local Control Commission for 6:25 p.m. We only have a consent agenda on that agenda, and so I think we will briefly recess the City Council meeting and call to order the Local Control Commission and ask for a motion on our agenda.
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner Singh. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Grant. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are any opposed? That carries unanimously. And then, Commissioner Singh, could I ask you for a motion on the consent agenda?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as it appears on Civic Clerk.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Grant. Is there any discussion on that item? All in favor, then, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are any opposed? That carries unanimously. Seeing no other business before the Local Control Commission, absent objection, I will adjourn that meeting at 6:30 p.m. and resume our City Council meeting at that same time, which brings us now to public forum. So we'll go ahead and open public forum now at 6:30 p.m. As always, we'll begin public forum with any Burlington residents here in City Hall who signed up. We'll then turn to any Burlington residents who are online. I believe at the moment we have 1 Burlington resident signed up online. As a reminder, our rule is that in order to participate in public forum online, you need to have signed up at least an hour in advance. We'll then repeat that process both here in City Hall and if there's anyone online for non-Burlington residents. If you're here in Contoy's Auditorium, when I call your name, please come forward here to the table, pull the microphone close, make sure the green light on the microphone itself is illuminated. If you're online, I'll let you know once you're able to unmute yourself on Zoom. Both here in person and online, speakers will be provided 2 minutes. When making comments, I ask you to please direct them to me as the chair and not to any other individual. We don't tolerate any individualized attacks, particularly those related to any individual's protected characteristics. We also ask that comments please refrain from obscenities, vulgarities, or otherwise being loud or disruptive. If I interrupt a speaker at any point in time, it will be to ask that they please proceed in accordance with these rules as I've described them. If a speaker continues to violate these rules, I reserve the right to end public comment for that speaker at that point in time. So with that, we have, at the moment, 5 Burlington residents signed up. The first is Bruce Wilson, who will be followed by Kimberly Clark. Bruce?
Well, hey everyone, City Councilor, Chair, Mayor. So I'm here today because I'm a little upset, about some things. Normally I come in like thanking everybody and loving everybody, but I want to just get started on this one because I just want to know, all these city councilors. One thing is personal, one thing is business. I love you all. If I didn't love white people, all people, I wouldn't have been living in Vermont since '89. So why they say America then still is today. And so what I'm here to talk about is what do you really do for the people who you serve? Put a water bill sign out, time to pay the water bills, how to pay the taxes. That what you do. What do you do for the people you serve? Now, I'm gonna tell you some of what you did do for the people you serve, working through my organization. And I'm gonna go through as fast as I can. So the Burlington Youth Program from the Burlington Police Department, we built a program called Building Bridges Between Youth and Police. And so what happened to that program? Which was finally went to start playing basketball and just like things at Burlington High School. I'm a co-founder of Burlington Community Justice Center. 15 years of free basketball tournaments in Roosevelt Park where I had helped youth when they win trophies and whatever. 5 youth centers, 2 art galleries. Graffiti removal program since 2010. We still graffiti. Look how beautiful it is out there. I'm the founder. 30 events, 30 of them in this Contours Auditorium that was sponsored by the city of Burlington. I didn't pay no insurance. I didn't have to pay for the fee. And many youth and families had fun while they was in the places. 25 events at Memorial Auditorium Annex. College students had a place to go. The city of Burlington sponsored it. And what happened to that? Okay. Burlington Police events. Shirley and I, we put together community events, for communities to get back to say, we love you, we appreciate. What happened to that, all right? What happened to that? I am your Vermont Human Rights Commissioner. I'm so wonderful, all the beautiful electoral boxes in my program. I'm on Chittenden County Regional Planning Housing Committee. I represent housing, social, economics on our board of directors. I'm on the Clean Water Advisory, Climate Council, and Fight for Kids Foundation. My program have over 50 awards, and we hosted over 700 events, and I'm a proud producer from Straight Talk from my programs. And so I want to say, let's make Burlington great again. And it's going to make some changes in Burlington. I guarantee. I sit on Essential Love. People know, you know me. You know me. You know the people I know. And they coming to me asking me questions. And so I'm just letting you know, it's going to be some changes in Burlington immediately.
Thank you, Bruce. Our next speaker is Kimberly Clark, who will be followed by Andrea Vietz.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I am not happy with the city of Burlington because you guys are having way too many GMT bus stops removed. The one over here by Champlain Farms, that bus stop is heavy traffic. All the GMT passengers use that a lot. And the one over here by Handy's gas station. But I was told by GMT today that the city of Burlington is having that bus stop removed by Champlain Farms. I already started a city lawsuit against the mayor's office. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Andrea Vietz, who will be followed by Kevin Lewis.
Good evening. I'm Andrea Vietz, Director at Heineberg Community Senior Center. The first thing that I want to do is thank everyone on the council and in the mayor's office for the hard work that you've put in over the last few weeks in putting together the city budget and addressing the many needs of Burlingtonians. I know it's a hard lift, and I appreciate the work that you've all done. I also want to say that the Heineberg stands ready to continue engaging with the Aging Council, with REIB, with the University of Vermont, Parks and Rec, the Planning Department, and hopefully even with City Arts in the coming year. I've had some good meetings with various heads of departments, and I think that there is a lot of room for growth in the services that we provide to the older adults in our city. And finally, I will say that I did take a couple days off last week, and while I was out, 3 new participants registered. 1 just moved here from Washington State, and 2 are new Americans from, I'm not sure of the specific country, but a French-speaking country in Northern Africa. And I used what little I remember from my college French to welcome them today. And we'll be reaching out to the community for some translators to come in and help us really welcome folks for whom English is not their first language. So I thank you for your support, and I look forward to reporting back as we go through the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Our next speaker will be Kevin Lewis and then Charlie Messing.
Hello. I'm ready to share my perspective on the process for appointments of members to city boards and commissions with this year's appointments now under consideration. I encourage the City Council to approach these decisions with fairness, transparency, and a focus on what's best for the Burlington community as a whole. Where political balance is required, such as on the board for the registration of voters, I recognize there are specific requirements that need to be followed. Beyond that, and for all other boards and commissions where there is no political requirement, I encourage the Council to follow a process that is fair, consistent, and clearly communicated with the public. I encourage the Council to keep the process as respectful and straightforward as possible, avoiding extended or adversarial debate over individual applicants when it can be avoided. These are neighbors volunteering their time, and the process should reflect our city's collective appreciation for that. I ask council members to approach each applicant with openness and good faith, to assume their desire to serve and collaborate, and let the process feel welcoming and grounded in community. I encourage council members to be willing to work across party lines in making these appointments. Our board and commissions function best when they reflect the community as a whole and when decisions are made in spirit of collaboration rather than division. Burlington's residents benefit when civic service is treated not as a partisan exercise, but as a shared responsibility. And that's all that I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last Burlington resident here in City Hall is Charlie Messing. We'll then turn to Sharon Busher as our 1 Burlington resident signed up online.
Hello, Ben. Hello, everyone else. I am here once again to speak of the hospital and getting to the hospital. It is difficult. I have spoken of this times before. I don't know how many times before, but it is important that people be able to access the hospital. I have been told that the buildings out on Tilley Drive wouldn't even have gotten permits unless they promised to make it possible for people to access that. Such is not the case. We used to have a bus that went up College Street from the waterfront, and it went to the hospital in town. As you know, the hospital in town is on top of a hill. The other one, the new half, is several miles away. I know you've heard of the ADA. They made it law. People with disabilities are supposed to be able to access the community. I believe that the hospital is essential to that. It's not essential that they talk to the mayor or run some program. They could be in some program, sure. I'd like to run a program, but the important thing is that no one else is speaking about the bus. We need the bus back. The hospital is not ADA. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. We'll now turn to the Burlington residents signed up online, and that's Sharon Busher. Sharon, I just need to share the timer here, and then once you see it, you should be able to go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, President Travers. I'm here to speak about item number 4 on the deliberative agenda, the ordinance that deals with bikes and motor vehicles. And I want to compliment the ordinance committee for having, allowing a lot of conversation about this, and their memo says that the conversation most likely will continue because of the impact that motorized vehicles, e-bikes, have with the speed that they can attain, and if they're on sidewalks, how dangerous they are for toddlers, pedestrians of any age, so I look forward to that conversation. But the ordinance tonight defines different types of bicycles. That's really good. They also talk about the reason in the city center that bicycles can be on sidewalks because of school-aged children going to school by a bike and having a parent walk with them. But they set the age limit at 16, and I think that we need to relook at that. I think it's fine for maybe elementary and maybe even middle school, but high school students, I think 16 is too old an age limit. The other thing that is mentioned in this is that there are colored patterns on the sidewalk to delineate pedestrian from bicycles. Now, that's fine, but if you have snow and people ride bikes when it's winter, they're not going to see those patterns. So I think that that needs to be relooked at by DPW. I know that this really is focused on really the Main Street improvements and making sure that we define bicycles and have clear access for bicycles and pedestrians and traffic. So I support what's going to happen, but there's more conversation to be had. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. We'll now return to City Hall, where we have one non-Burlington resident signed up, Pardun Saradhi Nambori.
Can I go ahead?
Yes, if you could just pull the microphone close, you should be all set.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I go by Pardue Namburi. This is going to be fun. I was born in Burlington, Vermont. This is where my roots are. I'm now graduating from Northwestern University with my master's in public policy and administration. I'm the CEO of an AI-assisted character development and wellness nonprofit and the chairman of another nonprofit where we develop hundreds of sites for other nonprofits free of cost. I came here to Burlington because I want to help fix the major problems that are going on, whether it's a drug crisis, homelessness crisis. There's always going to be issues, right? But the severity of the issues, I want to see how I could fix it. So I came up with a concept that I stress tested with intellectuals called a direct informed democracy platform, where people can vote on major city policies. Before they vote, they see a nonpartisan list of pros and cons, and then they vote on a major city policy, and then there would be a program evaluation, seeing if the policies meet key metrics, and if it doesn't, then there would be a revote triggered. Citizens can defer their votes to a citizen assembly or to a third party. So this is something that I reached out to some city councilors. Mark Barlow, I want to shout out him because I was able to talk to him and we had a really good conversation, but there's other city council members and even the mayor and other people I want to, even if it's just a coffee chat, I want to talk to because I really think this could solve the problems of the city and unite people instead of dividing people. and I want to do something with the knowledge that I have and the knowledge that I gain. I want to see how I could serve this place because I'm just sad to see what's going on, and the people here are so welcoming, and I want to do something. Thank you.
Thank you. That is the last individual we had signed up for public forum, and so we will go ahead and close public forum at 6:46 p.m., which brings us to the fourth item on our agenda, which is Mayor General City Affairs. I will note to councilors, and thank you, Councilor Sanchez-Parkinson, for your recommendation that after item 4, we'll turn to item 5, which is committee reports, and allow committee chairs an opportunity to report earlier in our agenda the ongoing work of their committees. But Mayor, we'll first turn to you.
Thank you, President Travers. I thought I would keep it a little light tonight and just do, because I didn't do so at the last meeting, just some highlights around our community, just to highlight some really good work and good events that have been happening in case councilors or the public were not aware. I just wanted to highlight first on May 21st, our Community Justice Center opened its new space in the bottom of the VFW Post building, which is just right around the corner from here. This building itself is a strong example of a partnership with the public public and private nonprofit sectors to take what was used to be the VFW Post building that was a one-story building and now is a multi-story housing on top of a first floor that houses our Community Justice Center and the VFW Post. It was a good partnership between many partners, CHT and Evernorth in particular. Senator Sanders found some federal funds for us, and of course CEDO and our financing as the city helped to make that whole building possible. But in that CJC space, they had been located, I think, in 7 different locations over the last 10 or 15 years, bopping around the city. To have a place of permanency for that important work, they do all of the restorative work for the city of Burlington, reparative work related to our justice system, but now are taking a step to hold that for the entire county as the main coordinator. So to finally have a home that is a wonderfully lit space for folks in the community to engage and do this deeper work of repairing harm to the community was really remarkable to see. So if you haven't been over there yet, I encourage you, especially counselors, to do a visit and to see this new space. Also on Memorial Day weekend, of course, the city welcomed the Vermont City Marathon, who came and did a presentation to council not long ago. It was though it was very cold and very rainy, but apparently that's good for running. I wouldn't know. It was a great event that had a lot of vibrancy throughout the city, and I just want to acknowledge all of our city departments who played a critical role for preparing the city and keeping folks safe during the day. So that is obviously our fire department, our police department, but also our parks department, DPW, et cetera, really wrapped around the city to make this a vibrant event, and it was a successful event. And we even had I think, I'm not an athlete, a major, course record set by someone who had never run a marathon before was one of the finishers, which was pretty cool to see. Also, towards the end of May, I finally had a chance, and it was a good one-year moment to do it with them. The BTV cleanup crew held their one-year anniversary, which I'm highlighting largely because it is a great example of community members stepping forward to be part of city solutions to help clean up trash and needles or anything they find along the way. On that one-year anniversary, I think easily 30 people showed up at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning, whatever hour it was, to go around the center city, cleaning up multiple locations. And everyone was really, had such a great positive attitude. And it's a great example, again, of care for community, love of community. And I encourage folks to support that effort. It happens twice a week, I believe. And it's a really tangible way to help Burlington keep moving in the right direction. 2 other ones I want to highlight. I went to visit the Family Room, which is one of our critical parent-child centers in the city. It's over in the Old North End and provides a really critical hub for families of all ages, but largely younger children, to really help the families not only meet their parenting basic needs, but basic needs as a family. It's a food hub, it's an information hub. They do a lot of intentional relationship building with a lot of our immigrant and refugee communities. It was great to tour the site in particular, not only to see very cute preschoolers, but to also just see the real anchor that organization has played in the Old North End for many decades at this point. And finally, as we all know, it's graduation season, and Burlington School District is graduating a lot of students, not only in the elementary level, some of us had fifth graders moving on to Hunt School, but we also have high schoolers about to launch out into the community. And last week I was able to attend the graduation of Eagle Bay Academy, which is one of the alternative programs we have for high schoolers who need to learn a different way, in a beautiful setting out at Rock Point. And it was great to be able to support and celebrate on behalf of the city about 10 graduates there who've really overcome many obstacles. And so it's an extra impressive achievement to reach graduation for many of them and their families. And then tomorrow, we will celebrate Burlington High School graduates who are part of the larger high school. They will be graduating in the new building. So if you were downtown today, you saw the seniors parading around the building, the City Hall, having a great celebration in the park after that class in particular doing their entire high school career in the Macy's building. We should probably do a proclamation for each one of them, because that was quite the patience and effort to be educated in such a building. But now we're opening the doors to the new high school and able to celebrate them as they head out as seniors. And we're very proud of them. Congratulations to all the graduates. And it was a good moment to celebrate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. That brings us to the fifth item on our agenda, committee reports. Is there any counselor with a committee report? Councilor Bergman, and then Sanchez Parkinson.
Yes. So the Ordinance Committee will be meeting this coming Thursday at 4:30 downstairs in the Busher Conference Room. And we have got 3 items on the agenda. The first is an initial discussion of our tree ordinance, which is probably 60 years old. So it's time for us to look at it. The second is the continued conversation about motorbikes, but I would say that based on what Councilor Busher mentioned in terms of the focus on the ordinance tonight, we'll have an opportunity, because they're intertwined, and we've had this conversation over the last couple of meetings to take a look at the age, and I'll have more about why I think that we should continue to move on the ordinance as presented tonight, particularly because we have this meeting on Thursday that we can make some adjustments if we need to pretty quickly, and this way we're not delaying. And the last one is the rewrite of the Industrial Pollution Prevention Program. And that is a major part of Chapter 26. And given new federal regulations, and given the growth of the brewery industry in particular, but other industries, there's a need for us to update and make allowances for regulatory changes, or actually the adoption of regulations. And so that is what we're doing now. This is basically a 2-step process. So the e-moto conversation is a fairly public, oriented one, where we're still having conversations and we're looking at enforcement. This tree is also, pretty publicly oriented, and the industrial pollution is much more technical, bureaucratic, but is really important for the future of the city. So I urge members of the public to check it out, and thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bergman. And looking at the tree ordinance, just be careful to not wipe out the prohibition on hitching your horse to a public tree, so.
We'll be looking at this.
Councilor Sanchez Parkinson.
Thank you. I am settling into my role as chair of the Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee. Tomorrow we meet at 5:30 here in City Hall, and we are continuing to refine our mission and purpose and priority areas as a committee. So, and it'll be tomorrow, our next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further committee reports? Yes, Councilor Litwin. And then Barlow.
Thanks. I just wanted to say that the Community Development Neighborhood Revitalization Committee, otherwise known as CDNR, will be meeting this Wednesday in the Busher Room, I believe at 6 o'clock. Double check Civic Clerk. And there's 2 items on our agenda, one of which there was a little bit of conversation about during public comment. One is we're continuing our conversation about the Graffiti Abatement Committee sort of scope of work. What should that look like? How should it function? And then we'll also be continuing our conversation with the folks, volunteers from the Walk Bike Group, who we hope to be bringing a resolution forward soon to support their efforts to kind of fast track and get some red tape out of the way so that we can have some block parties this September and have some more community events, which we also heard about tonight. So thank you, and please attend if you're interested in either of those topics or virtually.
Thank you. Councilor Barlow?
Thank you. Yeah, the Transportation, Energy, and Utility Committee will be meeting next Tuesday, June 23rd at 5:30, and we'll be meeting at 645 Pine Street. On our agenda, we'll be getting an update from BED on initiatives that they have underway, as well as an update on the Department of Permitting and Inspections, from the Department of Permitting and Inspections on the carbon pollution impact fee and rental weatherization ordinance compliance. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Barlow. Councilor Singh?
The Public Safety Committee will meet next Thursday, the 25th at 5:30. I'm working on some agenda items right now, and stay tuned for those on Civic Clerk. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Singh. Any other committee reports? All right, we will move then to item 6 in our agenda, which is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda? Thank you, Councilor Carpenter. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Litwin. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That carries unanimously. Thank you. So that brings us now to our deliberative agenda. And the first item on our deliberative agenda, we have a number of guests in attendance this evening on this item. And Mayor, I'll turn the floor to you regarding the FY27 mayoral appointments.
Thank you very much, President Travers. So per the charter, every June, the mayor puts forth the appointments or reappointments of department heads and a number of other chartered positions. And I am very pleased to bring forward a slate tonight that includes my 2027 mayoral appointments for your consideration. The council under the charter does a confirmation process, and then folks will be seated for the upcoming fiscal year. I have also consulted, which is required by charter, the boards and commissions that are relevant to certain departments to get their input on current department heads and their recommendations for going forward. I want to thank those folks. It was mentioned earlier in public comment. These are all volunteers who support our city operations. And 20 plus years ago, they had a more formal role within department head appointments. We changed the charter for a strong mayor form of government. However, they are still really vital in being, frankly, the eyes and ears and the immediate sort of department advisors to our department heads. So I really appreciate their time and deliberations to provide me and my office feedback on our department heads. And the individuals sitting behind me are the slate of the hardworking department heads for this city. And I really want to thank each one of them. It's always awkward to have them behind me when I do this each year, but I do truly and wholeheartedly want to really appreciate their dedication to public service, to this community, and to the residents and visitors here. We have faced a lot of challenges and opportunities as a city especially in these last couple of years, but we continue to work together as a strong team on behalf of this community to advance community safety, housing, and climate needs, but also through a lens of which I've asked folks to embrace around really fronting equity work and an equity lens, being very committed to good governance that includes transparency in the work that we do on behalf of all of you, and a strong commitment to affordability through the lens through which we steward our public resources as a city. I'm particularly proud of the hard work this team did across departments on the budget. This was one of the hardest we've done so far as a team, and everyone really embraced the solidarity budgeting concept, which I'll speak to later when we get to the fiscal year 27 budget on your agenda. but it required a lot of cross-department thinking and creativity, and a lot of deeper analysis of individual departments to look for cost savings, to make sure we were clear on core services, and most importantly, protecting staff who work so diligently also on behalf of the city. We also have worked on many initiatives across city departments that continue to break down silos, which I think is how we really innovate and how we really bring all levels of our organization together to think creatively on things like the complexities of our housing challenge or all the different disparate work we do right now on climate. How do we unify that for a real innovative approach to addressing resiliency we still have to work on as a city, as well as making sure the public knows what we are doing comprehensively on climate. I also want to note we welcome three new department heads over the course of this year, starting, of course, with our new fire chief, Chief Curtin, but also throughout the year, Kelly Perkins. Dr. Perkins started as our RAB director mid-year, as well as Phil Lewis directing our Burlington Parks, Recreation, and Waterfront. And the colleagues who are sitting around them really embraced them to help them be successful in this first year. And that shows such a strong model of colleagueship that I really want to commend and appreciate from my folks behind me. And finally, a few notes that you'll see at the bottom of our memo for you. First of all, it is per charter that the Director of Human Resources, for which I am putting forward Lynn Reagan again, in the second year of their appointment can be considered for a 2-year appointment, for which I'm confidently putting forward on behalf of Lynn. That is by the charter. And then a couple of known interim roles that we are holding still right now, as the public well knows. Our police department is currently being led by Chief Burke, who is technically our interim chief, though he's provided tremendous leadership and partnership in this first year-ish on the job. We do have him until next March while we continue our search for candidates for our permanent chief of police. So you do not see a chief of police appointment in this slate because we are still working with our interim. And also an interim role within our city assessor role, Tracy Isham, who works within the Department of Finance and Administration normally, is serving double duty as our interim. City assessors are very hard to find. So I think we're on our 3rd round at this point of searching. So if you're an assessor out there and you want to work with City of Burlington, come on down. But we are still working on that process of an appointment there. And so with that, you'll see other types of roles here as well. But I would like to, again, appreciate my team behind me and put this slate forward for your consideration for confirmation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Before turning to, Councilor Bergman?
I'd make a motion, if it's appropriate,
Sure.
to approve the mayoral slate for fiscal year 2027.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Bergman. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Councilor Carpenter. Councilor Bergman, would you like the floor at all?
Only to say thank you to all of you. I've worked with maybe all of you, right, in some capacity. And I totally appreciate the dedication, the work with your staffs, of whom you cannot do anything without. And we know it and you know it, and I really appreciate that. And the really hard work it is of building the commonwealth that we have to make this community thrive, and the extent to which we are doing it, we owe it to the people who are doing the work. So thank you all.
Thank you, Councilor Bergman. Is there any other councilor that wishes to be recognized on this item? All right, I will just note that we're joined by a number of other folks here online. Your pictures online are very small, but I just wanted to note that. No, it's okay. If we could change it to gallery view, I think it might be helpful. All right, great. So thank you for folks joining us online, and I echo Councilor Bergman's comments in my own regard. So thank you to all of our department heads for their service to the city, and thank you, Mayor, for bringing the slate forward. If there is no further discussion, I think we'll go to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are any opposed? That carries unanimously. So congratulations to our FY27 department heads. should say department heads and other mayoral appointments. So congratulations to all of them. That takes us to item 7.2 now. This is a public hearing regarding the setting of common area fees for FY27 in the Church Street Marketplace District. We will go ahead and open the public hearing now at 7:06 p.m. And I'll ask if there's anyone here in City Hall that wishes to participate in the public hearing, or if there's anyone on Zoom who wishes to participate in the hearing, please use the raise hand function on Zoom. Is there anyone here in City Hall that wishes to participate in the public hearing on the setting of common area fees for FY27? Anyone online? Again, we'll ask you to please use the raise hand function. And for good measure, I'll just ask one more time if there's anyone here in City Hall or online that wishes to participate in this public hearing. All right, seeing none, we will go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:06 p.m. and turn now to item 7.3. This is the resolution regarding the allocation method and standards for common area fee formula and the establishment of the common area fees for the Church Street Marketplace for fiscal year 2027. And on this item, we are joined by Samantha McGinnis. Samantha, would you like to introduce the item?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So every year we bring the common area fees to City Council. These are the fees charged to the properties along the Church Street Marketplace, so just the 4 blocks that are lined with bricks. This is based on the first floor square footage of those properties. These fees go towards the marketplace budget for the enhanced services that we provide for the marketplace. This year, the rate is set at $3.02. This is the same rate that it has been since FY24. So no change in the rate for this year.
Great. Thank you, Samantha. Yeah. And congratulations on your reappointment as the Church Street Marketplace Director. Is there any counselor that has questions or comments on this item before we turn to a motion? Counselor Singh.
Thanks again, Samantha, for being here, and congratulations on being reappointed. I just want to talk a little bit about, so the public understands, it being an enterprise fund and that there was a surplus at the end of this fiscal year. Could you explain to the public what happens to that surplus in the case of an enterprise fund here, and how it factored into your discussions?
Yes, so if there's a surplus, which is different than if it was a general fund, we are allowed to keep that surplus for the marketplace. And if we had a need arise in the future, we would be able to access that surplus. So if there was a time in which we had a large capital expenditure that we needed to address, or any kind of hole in the budget that we needed to look at, we could access those funds that have been surplused in the past.
Thank you so much. And it's clearly by your leadership that you're able to operate with the surplus year over year, considering the challenges on the street. So I just want to commend you and your staff, the maintenance staff, and all the folks that work to maintain the marketplace.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Singh. Is there any other councilor that wishes to be recognized on this item? Councilor Grant.
Thank you. How much was that surplus, out of curiosity?
For FY26? We haven't quite closed out the year yet, so right now we're looking at a surplus at the moment, but we haven't quite, it's got a couple weeks left in our fiscal year, but it will be, you know what, I have to double check my budget and I can get that number back to you.
Okay. Was there a surplus last year?
Yes, the past few years we've had a bit of a surplus, a little bit at the end of the year that we've been able to roll over.
And approximately how much has it been the last few years?
I think it's been roughly in the range of about like $40,000.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Grant. Councilor Singh, I think maybe I cut you off before you were done, so we'll go back to you.
I just, I was wondering if we were going to make a motion and then I'd be able to discuss a little more. I did want to flag for the public, there was a 1% increase on the table for the common area fee, but after discussion with the folks on the Marketplace Commission, they really felt that holding the common area fee steady was really important. They did say, a lot of people are still expressing a lot of challenges with the street, especially now If things are turning around for some businesses, they are now getting hit often with fuel surcharges from all the deliveries that are coming. So as we look to, I think a lot of people ask out there, is if, businesses close a little earlier, we'd like to see them stay open a little bit more into the evening to keep activity on the street. I think it's really important to note that keeping this fee level for them hopefully will signal to them that we're committed to, and if they want to still be committed to the city, to expand the times they're open. Additionally, the cafe fees were reduced by 5%. I think that's really important to note, that the Marketplace Commission is understanding that by lowering these cafe fees, hopefully more businesses, and maybe businesses that don't want to pay the cafe fee and not put tables out on the street, hopefully this can help encourage that and activate the street more, because the more activity on the street, the better off Burlington is. They all did mention that without the, with the Main Street construction finishing off, that this could be an area of opportunity, even though there are 12 vacancies on the street. Many of these businesses are still struggling, and again, as they said, with the fuel charges, they're trying to get their heads above water. So I think it's really important to note that there was a raise of the common area fee suggested, but the Marketplace Commission recognized, given the climate, that this was not the time to raise it and actually cut fees for cafes. So I think that's a good response, and listening to the businesses is how they're reacting out there. And I commend the commission and the leadership of the department to steward them through these discussions.
Thank you, Councillor Singh. Is there any other councillor that wishes to be recognized on this item? All right, the recommended action is to waive the reading and adopt the resolution. Is there a motion to that end?
Yes, so
Okay,
moved.
thank you, Councillor Singh. Is there a second? Don't all jump at it. Okay, Councillor Carpenter. Seconded by Councillor Carpenter. Any further discussion on the item? All right, we'll go to a vote then. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That carries unanimously. Thank you, Director McGinnis. We now move to item 7.4. This is the aforementioned ordinance by Councillor Bergman regarding bicycles and motor vehicle traffic. And Councillor Bergman, again, as you mentioned before, this comes from the Ordinance Committee, and as chair of that committee, I would welcome your introducing the item and making a motion. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to move the adoption of this ordinance as presented on this second reading, and have the floor back after a second.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Councillor Carpenter. Councillor Bergman, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So the Ordinance Committee took this up on May 1st and had a pretty extensive conversation about it, although it did bleed into the motorized vehicle conversation. And you'll note in the memo that we retain jurisdiction for the ongoing discussion about motorized vehicles that people are seeing on the bike path and in sidewalks and in other ways, which are causing some issues here. But we got this from DPW, who had gone to the Walk Bike Council and the Public Works Commission. That information is in the memo, and the other summary and description of the ordinance is also in that memo. But the changes that we've got here relate to the definition of electric bicycles. The technology has outpaced our old ordinance, and so this makes clear the different classes of bicycle, and then will allow us, because they relate to the power, to more greatly, if need be, regulate them going forward, as well as electric personal assistive mobility devices, so that, you know, people in particular with disabilities and other needs will have that type of bicycle is included in here. And then there are a number of rules, and it also includes rules related to the riding on sidewalks. And I have to say that that did not rise much in our conversation, if at all. And I do think that we can take another look at it this Thursday. But this has been vetted by lots of folks, and it seems that even if we were to lower the age, because that actually has not changed, except, well, to set that age for riding on bicycle on sidewalks. We've made that allowance. We will be able to take that up this coming week, and if need be, we'll come back with an amendment. So the rest of this, I don't think that it makes sense for us to delay the whole thing and then come back, because you know how these things are, when, you know, the possibility that it'll start to drag on. And so my recommendation is that we take this and then continue to look at at that particular item. There is a concern about the Main Street project and making sure that this now fits within these shared use paths, and so this will help us in that regulation. So that's my summary, and we had the unanimous support of the committee, and I hope that we can do this and then continue the conversation in the committee on Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Bergman. Thanks, as always, to the diligence of the Ordinance Committee in getting this item back to us. I will note that we're also joined by Senior Transportation Engineer Philip Peterson and Assistant City Attorney Kim Sturdivant online. Attorney Sturdivant, congratulations on your reappointment as well, not just as our Assistant City Attorney and Director of Litigation, but also as our Assistant Grand Juror and 4th Constable. So congratulations. Are there any other councilors that wish to speak to this item or have questions? All right, seeing none, we will go to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are any opposed? That carries unanimously. Which brings us to items 7.5 now and 7.6, related items. But first, we must turn to item 7.5. This is a resolution that comes our way now from the Board of Finance regarding the annual appropriation and budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026 and ending June 30th of 2027. And on this item, Mayor, I would welcome you and Chief Administrative Officer Catherine Schad. And congratulations on your reappointment too, Catherine, introducing this item. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, President Travers. And I will report, as a member of Board of Finance, this received unanimous support just less than an hour or so ago, which I appreciate the support of my colleagues on the Board of Finance, both this item and the next item where we set the tax rate. So I want to give an overview of what the fiscal year 27 budget ended in and how it is proposed for the final council vote tonight. After a very long year and dedicated work, which I alluded to during the department head appointment process, we worked very diligently as administration to present to the council earlier than normal a balanced budget. And after a lot of hard work, we were able to close what was initially a projected $11 million budget gap. And as I explained downstairs at Board of Finance, this is the continued work of the city to work on a structural budget gap that has formed for a number of reasons here in the city of Burlington. But again, this budget is now a reflection of compromise between my administration and both caucuses for the city council, for which I really, as I said, downstairs, a deep appreciation for both caucus leaders in particular for putting in a lot of extra hours to go back and forth over the last 3 weeks or so. So Councilor Schachter, I know you're online, but I want to appreciate your leadership on behalf of the Democratic Caucus, and Councilor Bergman on behalf of the Progressive Caucus. A lot of good conversation was had, respectful conversation was had in our our deliberations to bring this to a place where this budget truly not only remains balanced, which is required by charter, but reflects the commitment to affordability to our residents here at Burlington, equity in terms of how we continue to steward city resources in a way that balances our limited resources at this point with public funds, but making sure we're providing strong core services to the people of Burlington. So this budget also supports the 700 dedicated employees who run our city every single day. And I want to appreciate throughout this budgeting process, very early on, we even asked these city employees and their unions that represent them and folks who are non-union for their ideas at this point, 3 years in. How do we continue to prioritize core services? What are ideas they have as rank and file staff who see a lot of the details of the day-to-day, where we can get more efficient or more strategic in how we use our resources. I'm particularly proud that this budget, unlike last year, included no layoffs for any filled positions. That was incredibly hard to do, again, with an estimated $11 million budget gap on a budget that is about $110 million total. We were able to do that through some strategic eliminations of unfilled positions and delayed hiring of other not currently vacant positions into the new fiscal year. The total budget that is proposed tonight is a total of $112.6 million, which is a very modest growth considering the inflationary environment for which we are all living in right now, compared to last year's budget for the general fund, which was at $111.2 million. I want to remind folks that what has caused these structural budget gaps year after year includes a few different factors. Slow growth in the city's grand list, which is just over about half of the amount of revenue that we collect as a city comes from our grand list, so property taxes. The loss of about $1 million that was revenue from a business personal property tax that we rescinded in the last year. Continue to rely on one-time funds for ongoing costs as a city, and significant growth in our city workforce over the last 10 years. And this was prior to my administration, but in the fiscal year 27 budget, in particular with the workforce, we've been able to bring the workforce back to numbers about 10 years ago, which includes basically the reduction of about 100 FTEs over the course of these 3 budgets. That is how we start to put our city on course to make sure we are not living beyond our means, because those are all salaries and benefits that would be had to be paid year after year. And we are very diligently being careful on where those reductions are, but I appreciate, again, the hard work by departments to identify where we could do that. This also reflects an investment, though, in our workforce. We have now settled 2 contracts over the last year with our police and fire unions, and we are wrapping up bargaining with IBEW, who represents the Burlington Electric Department, which is not part of the general fund, but part of our unionized workforce, and AFSCME, which represents most of our general fund workforce in terms of unions. And what we are committed to is making sure folks have professional wages, protected health care benefits and pensions that do not roll back or balance our hard budgets on the backs of hardworking city staff. And I'm proud that this budget represents that. We are all, like every community in the country, facing a lot of uncertainty and instability in terms of our finances related from decisions by the Trump administration. Rising inflation, tariffs from the war in Iran, continued pressures on our budgets when we lose federal grants. These are not normal times, and it creates more and more pressures on local communities to come up with local resources and, frankly, have to sometimes make strategic cuts to balance out these negative impacts. As a northern state and a northern city, the impacts by the federal administration on immigration enforcement and tariffs and threats to our neighbors in Canada has dramatically impacted the behaviors and decisions of tourists, which as a northern city, we desperately depend on. And we've seen that impact in the drop of Canadians crossing the border in the double digits in the last year plus. So this budget, again, in terms of budgeting, the process itself reflects a lot of engagement by city departments, our city employees, our city unions, and all of you as city councilors to build this budget together. We use solidarity budgeting strategies in order to make sure this budget and last year's budget, where departments were cutting more last year, were asked to not have to do so much, and departments that were not cutting as much last year dug a little deeper this year in order to make sure we were balancing and thinking equitably across all of our departments. We also worked to provide 3 different, basically, buckets of solutions to provide a balanced approach. So we were not seeking all of it from a big tax increase, which folks could not afford here in Burlington. So we did 3 strategies. We raised revenue in a fair and balanced way. We thought about right-sizing the government, which I've mentioned a little bit about how, and we're looking for strategic opportunities and ways we can leverage our city assets. And so we were able to do all of these 3 strategies while also incorporating the feedback by both caucuses, and you'll see that especially in the budget resolution, for which I'll speak to in just a moment. Before I talk a little bit about what some of those decisions were in the final budget, I want to note and thank the tireless and thankless work of our CAO, Catherine Schad, and her team in the Department of Finance Administration. This is a really gnarly budget, and it is hard to sometimes get into the details with all the limitations of our software and 14 plus very different departments who do very different work. And managing all of that with a very under-resourced team has been quite a feat. And so thank you to you, Catherine, and your team for this diligent work. I asked you to do work earlier and I don't know, faster or harder, but anyway, much earlier than ever before. And I know that took a lot of extra hours of work, and I'm grateful for your partnership in the work and your entire team. So please pass that on. And they've all left now, but the department, I knew they would, so I thanked them earlier for their work on the budget. But this was a true team effort, including a lot of creative thought across departments of how we as an entire senior leadership team could put forward a budget that really thought deeply in each of the budgets. So thanks to all the department heads and their senior leadership and their employees, again, who helped provide some really thoughtful and usable ideas in this budget. So another thank you needs to go to our residents and our voters who played a big part in helping us provide some revenue source to work with. And they, with a 70% margin, voters approved in March on town meeting day 5 cents to increase on our police and fire splinter tax. Those are resources that can only be used for traditional police and fire services. We are very diligently and carefully using all 5 cents of that to be able to use about the 2.5 million dollars or $3 million that it generates in terms of the splinter tax towards the budget. We also were able to come to an agreement through negotiations on our consumption tax known as gross receipts to maintain a 2.5% gross receipts tax rate, which is used, which you'll see in restaurants and other kinds of consumption tax in the downtown, largely used for folks with more disposable income. And in a compromise, eliminate the tax on emissions, which hopefully will help generate some more activity in our downtown as folks take part in events and amusements, whatever that means in the charter, but it's usually events and engagement in a lot of the reasons people come to downtown. Back to how we were able to do some structural permanent changes. When I mentioned we didn't have to lay off staff, 13 positions are eliminated in this budget that existed in fiscal year 26 that again are vacant going into the new year. This also includes a delay of hiring 14 vacant positions and a voluntary furlough program that I appreciate city employees who are able to use that to save a little bit more money for the city, all accounting for about $2.2 million in savings. And we also were able to do strategic investments. You've heard me talk about this before. A budget is frankly a document that should reflect the investments and priorities of the city as much as we need to make sure we're doing strategic reductions in order to build a sustainable budget. So as we have in the prior 2 years, this third year also includes strategic investments in community safety. You'll see 2 new firefighter positions added later in the year. Within our Burlington Fire Department. This was an agreement with our Firefighters Association, the union, to make sure we had safe staffing ratios and continued to slowly and methodically build up our ranks there. We're also investing in our current police station because, as Chief Burke likes to say, the 1990s called and they want their locker room back. He says it so much better than I do, but that building was never designed to be a police department, and so what we're doing now is critical upgrades to not only make it a usable and safer building with real air conditioning, et cetera, for current staff, both sworn officers and professional staff, but we have to put our best foot forward as we recruit a new chief and also recruit more officers to be able to build out and rebuild this police department. It has been a long time since we put money in from the general fund into our fleet, which are city vehicles. And on the theme of community safety, we are finally able to purchase 5 new police cruisers. They get a lot of use. They need to be replaced on a fairly regular basis, and we've been delayed in recent years. We are able to purchase a new ambulance and a shift command vehicle for the fire department with this budget. And finally, which is still community safety, 3 maintenance vehicles needed for snow removal, both a sidewalk tractor and a snow plow, and a dump truck. These are all critical for our city. On a positive note, as I begin to wrap up here, it also includes strategic investments for revitalizing Burlington. We've been creating successful momentum going forward here with so many vibrant activities and intentional investments into our community, including our downtown. Just a couple to name off. This budget reflects the return of all summer concert nights at the Waterfront Park. Many events, 100+ events between a collaboration with our Parks Department, BCA, and the Church Street Marketplace, including celebration of the World Cup, which has already started. And we saw, I think, 800 people at 9+ o'clock. I'm in bed by then, but like 9 o'clock, they were out here celebrating and watching games live in City Hall Park. We've also expanded Illuminate Burlington, which will help in the winter months. We're doing a number of events that I think Samantha provided that brochure of all the summer events in particular that we're putting on as a city. And here, great, thank you very much, Catherine. If you haven't picked this up, I mean, I know I'm on camera right now, so I hope you pick this up throughout the city. There's over 100 free events, not only the city is putting on, but we're putting on with partnerships with non-city entities, which is really how you build a vibrant, sustainable effort to give people reason to come downtown. Finally, because we know our budgeting process is one that needs further investments in capacity to make sure we are being as diligent as possible, this budget also includes 2 strategic new positions. And I know it sounds weird to add new positions in a budget where we've had to do so many significant cuts, but this is a strategic investment by creating a new position to direct the budgeting process. It is currently mostly held by our CAO, who now leads one of the largest merged departments with way too many direct reports, as well as adding a new collections position to help us with that piece of our puzzle where we're going to enforce more consistently owed taxes and fees to the city. And to be able to do that, you need the people power. So these are 2 very important positions that I know will have a benefit to the city at the end of the day in terms of our ability to deliver even a stronger budget in fiscal year 28. I'm just going to guide you briefly through the resolution, and folks can find this on Civic Clerk because there's a narrative here that goes a little bit even deeper into what this budget presents. And again, highlighting the compromise we were able to reach with the council. This budget includes 10 more sworn officers in its Burlington Police Department budget. That is an important investment, and the chief is confident that we are headed in the right direction in terms of pulling in more recruits. And I'm glad to be able to protect resources, be able to hire 5 in the first half of the year and 5 in the second half of the fiscal year. We are also investing as a sign of compromise an additional $150,000 to support the Central District with more extra security when needed, based on when we know we need more eyes and ears downtown, including a compromise of using sworn officers and our other professional staff to make sure that we can keep folks accountable on behavior that is not able to support the vibrancy that we want in downtown. We are also earmarking, this is an important one that came through our council mayor negotiations. We're earmarking $25,000 of existing Burlington Police Department training funds to specifically train our police officers more deeply on the state's fair and impartial policing policy, immigration law, and constitutional rights. There is a strong learning coming out of March 11th that we really need to make sure we are tangibly responding to and making sure we're earmarking. There's about $110,000, $120,000 in total training cost. Earmarking a significant amount towards that will help us start taking tangible steps as a city to make sure our standards and expectations are clearly known by police officers, and more importantly, they can practice and be able to learn from what we've experienced as a community, but more importantly, where we need to be more resilient and clear on what happens when this may happen again in our community. We're piloting an increase of use of staff within our Department of Permitting Inspections to do more collection of back fees and strategic engagement with property owners. And that pilot, I know, will yield good results, and we'll check back in with the council in 6 months to see how that is going. We are investing, even though it says $904,000, we are actually investing $1 million total in marketing, promotion, and downtown and waterfront events. It started with $900,000 before we finished our negotiations, and I'm proud to say we compromised with pushing it over to $1 million to, again, strategically invest in what our city needs and making sure we have that vibrancy and reasons for people to come downtown. Let's see, what have I not mentioned yet? Almost there. On to our senior programming. We heard routinely from the Heineberg Center throughout this budgeting process around the need to support seniors. And not only are we investing our base funding with Heineberg, which we consider one of our core services under regional programs, we're also adding $38,000 this year to support them and doing a review of the Aging Council's recommendations to hopefully do more strategic investments in programming in fiscal year 28. We also increased funding for Turning Point beyond their base funding by $8,500, again, looking at the per capita of how many folks they support in our community through their coaching and recovery efforts. And with that, I think those are the big highlights. I don't want to start repeating myself. Thank you very much for your partnership, Council. I appreciate it, and I look forward to any final discussion or questions you might have as we bring this together forward for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Before turning to the council for a motion and discussion, I do just want to note for the record that on the last item, item 7.4, we were joined by Councilor Newbeezer. And so, Lori, Councilor Newbeezer did vote on 7.4. I just want to note his presence for the record. When our agenda was posted last Thursday, we did not yet have a final copy of the budget resolution, and so the agenda was posted without a recommended action. But a suggested action would be to waive the reading and adopt the resolution, and I will open to see if there is a motion to that end. Councilor Bergman.
Yes, I will make a motion to waive the reading and adopt the amended version of this budget. It's on I believe it is called 260615 DFA Resolution RE Annual Budget FY27 amended.
Thank you, Councilor Bergman. And to confirm, Mayor and CAO Shaw, that is the version that you intended on presenting. Okay, great. And that is posted to Civic Clerk. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Councilor Schachter. Councilor Bergman, did you want the floor on the item?
Sure, unless other people are going to jump up, I'd be happy to start us off. There we go. Okay. You know, the work that the city does for the common benefit is absolutely essential. And not only do you see it in any of the departments that we've just appointed the heads to, but in the comments of Bruce Wilson and Andrea, and the countless other people that we've had up here. And all of us, all of our departments are facing incredible pressure from inflation on healthcare, the Trump-created crises, and, you know, we're looking at, by my look, a general fund of about 1% more when the inflation is 4% and higher costs from the prior year's inflations are baked into our budget. And we've done this without layoffs, and we've done it with the most comprehensive involvement of the council and the unions that I have ever seen, and I've been kicking around for a really long time. And we did it without a general property tax hike, and part of that was due to the really targeted safety and health tax that 70% of our people voted for, as the mayor mentioned, and with efficiencies and real cuts, but not austerity, worth $3 million. That's a third of what that gap was about. That is really significant. And we've done this as well with progressive revenue sources that were first adopted under Bernie, like the gross receipts tax, so that the burden to fund our city is shared by people who are most able to do so and is shared by all who benefit from the investments that we make, like the great people who come to visit and spend in our downtown, in the old North End, in the South End, and in the new North End. And what is actually, speaking of this not being an austerity budget, but being a frugal budget, as we've done this with continued investments to community health and safety, to economic vitality, to housing, and not unimportantly to our own workers, who, as I said before, are the people that actually get this done, and our community, who we do it for and with. And I have to say that it has been hard to get here. I don't think anybody who has been involved in this budget negotiating process would not say that. And compromises have been made. And unlike in Washington, where they don't seem to do that, we have made compromises. I've heard calls for more dramatic cuts, cuts that would really hurt the public and our workers performing those services, and I'm happy that this budget rejects that austerity approach. I've heard calls for more drastic cuts in the gross receipts tax, and I'm happy that this budget rejects that, because that would make our tax system even more regressive. And there is still a significant cut in gross receipts revenues, as the mayor mentioned, the admissions tax, something that I oppose, and I opposed, but I've accepted, because it's a compromise, because sometimes that's what it takes for the common good, and that's what I believe is the appropriate thing to do now. But as I've said many times in public and to us here, it is clear that, to me, that we have got a revenue problem, not a spending problem. We have many needs that we need to be working on. So this is a budget for a city in yet another transition. And I've heard from many people out in the community that Burlington is coming back. We have weathered some hard times, and it is very clear, I'm sure, that we will have to weather more. But as we've said before, as we've seen before, I truly believe that Burlington is moving forward, and this budget keeps us on that path, and I hope it gets our unanimous support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bergman. Is there any other councilor that wishes to speak to this item? Councilor Schachter?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, you're a little muted. If you can speak a little closer to the microphone. But
Okay. So I just want to say a few words as well. I don't take lightly how important of a responsibility it is for us as a council to pass the mayor's recommended budget. It outlines our priorities, it sets the tone for the upcoming year, and perhaps most importantly, it allocates real funding across our city departments to meet the needs of our community and move our city forward. And as mentioned, and thank you for the kind words, Mayor, as the newly elected chair of the Democratic Caucus, I had the privilege of having a front row seat to this year's budget negotiations. And this budget reflects extensive collaboration with the mayor, her team, and Councilor Bergman, and our respective caucuses over the past few weeks to arrive at what I see as a true compromise. I'm grateful for the good faith collaboration that unfolded between us, and I think this budget is a model of what we can accomplish when we roll up our sleeves, take care to find common ground, and dig into the hard work of leading our city forward together. As shared, there were times over the past few weeks where I was reminded that democracy is messy. These were not always easy negotiations, but that is the beauty of democracy. And while we as a city continue to face structural budget challenges, I believe this year's budget reflects an important step forward with long-term strategic investments aimed at addressing our affordability challenges, supporting our workforce, and investing in the vitality and vibrancy of our city. So I'd love to highlight just a few key elements of the budget. Some were mentioned, some were not yet discussed, that I do believe reflect our commitment to building a strong and vibrant Burlington in the years ahead. So as the mayor mentioned, this budget provides additional funding for security resources in the vicinity of Church Street, Battery Park, the waterfront, and other hotspots throughout our downtown hub and the Central District. Over the past couple of years, we've seen success with additional security resources being deployed at key times that are driven by data and responsive to public safety concerns. And I'm glad that we're able to build those resources into this year's budget. There's also funding in this year's budget for a new bonus program to incentivize lateral transfers of active police officers from other municipalities who, if hired by the police department, would be able to begin serving immediately. This is an important, I hope I didn't freeze up. I see my camera having issues.
Your video is frozen. We can hear you though, so sorry to interrupt. Yes.
Great. This lateral transfer bonus is an important strategy for rebuilding our department and addressing our recent hiring and retention challenges. This budget, as the mayor said, also maintains key funding for downtown festivals and events. I'm grateful for all of the city departments who program our downtown. It's a true collaborative effort. And as we prepare for the end of the Great Streets Main Streets project and continue efforts to revitalize our downtown, these efforts provide important opportunities to bring us together, support our local businesses, and enhance the vibrancy of our community. And lastly, this budget includes funding for economic development pilot projects designed to strengthen downtown activity and support long-term growth. I look forward to working with my council colleagues this year to identify some key investments we can make to support our local economy. I see these investments as a key affordability strategy because growing our local economy and the revenues raised from the gross receipts tax eases our reliance on the residential tax base to pay our city's bills. So with that, I just want to say I'm grateful for all the hard work that went into this budget. I believe it reflects our values and priorities, is responsive to current conditions, and provides some exciting opportunities to grow the pie, so to speak, as we prepare for what will undoubtedly be another challenging budget year ahead. But I think there's some really wonderful stuff in this year's budget. And again, I'm grateful for the collaborative spirit that went into bringing this forward this evening and all the hard work of the city staff.
Thank you, Councilor Schachter. Who else would like to get in the queue on this item? Councilor Grant.
Thank you. I agree with a lot of the things that Councilor Bergman said. I think it was very important to avoid an austerity budget, especially, as the mayor said, that we have a lot of obligations to provide certain services in our city. And while there is one view that we should look for more cuts, the other view of looking for more revenue is, I believe, the more responsible way for us to continue to move forward. I'm very thankful that we protected the working people who are the city staff here in Burlington, protected their rights to earn a livable wage. And I do appreciate that we acknowledge what we're doing for our businesses and supporting the vitality of our city, but also taking into consideration our residents, because if we don't have a balanced view, and I know that upsets some people because I talk about balance all the time, if we are ignoring the needs of our residents and the public safety issues that our residents have, which are the same things that affect our businesses, we're not going to be able to move forward to continue to make even more progress than we have been making. And the last thing I'll say is I found the lateral transfer bonus to be extremely interesting, especially as the former chair of the Public Safety Committee. I discussed lateral transfers a number of times and mentioned multiple times the excellent, very specific plan that the fire department had and executed for recruiting lateral transfers to fill some of their positions. I just want to say that lateral transfers, the big benefit is that they do not have to go through the academy, but they do still need training. So just to be fully transparent with the public, it is not immediate, but it's significantly faster than anyone who has to go through the academy. Thank you very much to the hard work of the mayor and the caucus chairs.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. Who else would like to be heard on this item? Councillor Barlow.
Thank you, and I also want to appreciate the work of the administration and the caucus chairs on getting us to agreement over the weekend. Many of us on the council have conditioned our support for making the gross receipts, the temporary gross receipts increases permanent on an assurance that we fund the priorities that we feel are important for the vitality of downtown and the economic health of the city more broadly. And I said this at our last meeting, but I think it's worth repeating. And these priorities did include additional programming and for events, programming and events, enhanced security in the areas prone to safety issues, and funding to help reinvigorate economic activity. And these were central in the final discussions leading up to a budget agreement. And I'm really glad that we were able to have all of these priorities included in the budget we're voting on tonight. These priorities aren't just expenses, they represent investments to promote economic activity and downtown vibrancy that will yield benefits, including more visitors, diners and shoppers, increased gross receipts, and local option revenue. And importantly, it'll help repair our reputation, which has been damaged by the social crises that disproportionately affected Burlington coming out of the pandemic. So I'm looking forward to the work ahead, and in particular, the future council action that will inform specifics around additional council-directed economic vitality measures that we have funded for in this budget tonight. And lastly, I'll just say that as we pass this budget tonight, we're not done with the hard budgeting work ahead. We face continued upward wage and health insurance pressure and inflation generally. And absent additional action, we will have similar challenges next year. We need to begin immediately the hard work of figuring out how to make additional cuts in the FY28 budget as soon as we pass this FY27 budget, or we need to plan to raise more revenue or some combination. And I'm hoping we can begin this work as soon as possible, hopefully over the summer, so that we'll have enough time to evaluate the widest range of options available to us to face those challenges next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Councillor Singh, and then Sanchez-Parkinson.
Thank you, Council President Travers. Thank you to the mayor. Thank you to the caucus chairs. And I'll just echo everybody's words that's been here. You know, there was a lot of compromise here, and it took a lot of hard work. And I know that can be really hard for people, especially when you have a lot of views of the priorities of the citizens of Burlington. You know, I really want to highlight again the investment in recruitment and the lateral hires, you know, and that's an idea I believe that came right from the department itself. And having the enhanced security downtown is going to help us moving forward. Also, you know, I feel we cannot move away from programming the center of the city, keeping it active, and keeping it as a great experience for everybody that comes to visit Burlington. Not only did we have World Cup, you know, being a parent of a kid that plays sports, it was the Nordic Cup here in Burlington, or in the Essex area, and a lot of the kids downtown you saw this weekend were wearing not World Cup jerseys, but the jerseys of their teams from when they're coming from around the region. And it's really important that we, keep Burlington welcoming and safe for our visitors alike, because that's the key to, or has been the key to a lot of our economic vitality here in Burlington. I still firmly believe that economic investment is the key to an affordable Burlington for its residents and for the businesses alike. Bringing new employers with good jobs, good wages, is where balance can come and occur in this city. And that will come with a reimagination of, what we can do here in Burlington. I think it's really important, the investments in economic vitality and trying out new economic plans or ideas to attract more businesses here to Burlington. And it's not just the shops and the diners. We have a lot of office buildings, and bringing people back here is the key. When I first moved here, a lunch downtown was it was the hopping place to be when it got warm, and now it's the lunch crowd is much smaller than when I first moved here, and that can be directly related to bringing bigger employers who attracted to this city for what we have to offer. We've always been inventive, we've been creative, we've brought unbelievable companies out of Burlington, from Seventh Generation to Ben & Jerry's, to Burton, to IDX, to Dealer.com. Now we have Beta and OnLogic, and having those type of economic drivers in this city, in our downtown, will not only be good for the city of Burlington, but I believe it'll be good for those employers, because when a visitor comes and sees those employers here in our downtown center, it'll let them know that Burlington is open to do business, not just to dine, but to have your life and create a life for you and maybe a young family. I do want to say, as we're talking about World Cup and Nordic Cup, I'm reminded of a saying I always hear when I'm watching sports is, trust the process. And I do want to speak about the budgeting process. The budgeting process, in my mind, now that I've gone through it twice, it's hard to put trust in the process. A lot of the presentations in the beginning are very high level, and we don't have access necessarily to line-by-line changes that are go on year over year. And I understand the rush at the end, and I'm one of those people that digs into line by line, and I understand the anxiety that creates for staff and people that are employed here in the city and everybody in every department. And I want to acknowledge that I do understand that anxiety, but, to do the diligence that we need to do, we have to work on this process moving forward. There is a lot of compromise out there. I wasn't for the 5% public safety tax because I worry we lean too hard into that. And also with the gross receipts, I've made my feelings clear on that. It's not necessarily the people that are paying the gross receipts when they go out. I believe it's in the business decision to locate your business in Burlington. When looking at the surrounding area, we need to give people a reason to locate here in the city. But I want to thank everybody that's been involved with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Singh. Councilor Sanchez-Parkinson.
Thank you. I will, again, thank everyone. Thank you, the mayor and all department heads and their teams. Thank you to our caucus leaders, Councilor Schachter, Councilor Bergman, for all of the work that went into this process. As noted in our 2020 resolution on racial justice through economic and criminal justice, as a city, we are to prioritize the eradication of systemic racism and the creation of our city budget. To be able to achieve this when we face a budget gap is not an easy task, because addressing the systemic disinvestment in our certain communities means that we have to invest in those who our city has historically not served. Throughout the budget process this season, we face different types of philosophies for economic development of our city. This budget is also investing heavily on our police and fire departments, and I look forward to ensuring that these resources are responsibly and responsive to the feedback from all of our community members. Nevertheless, Again, I want to thank all those who contributed to this process because I witnessed a shared commitment across departments to center equity in our work. A budget, a city budget, is a statement of our community values, and I'm proud to support this budget that invests in our city workers, that supports some of the work of the services of our most vulnerable residents, and that helps to move Burlington forward towards a sustainable future. So as soon as this budget is passed, I look forward to getting to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Sanchez-Parkinson. Is there any other councilor that wishes to be heard? Yes, Councilor Carpenter, and then Litwin.
Thank you all. I don't want to repeat my colleagues. They are very articulate. I do, again, though, just want to thank those that participated in the budget process, the mayor, her staff, our caucus leaders, to get us where we are today. And I hope that's sort of a model going forward. I know in the conversation and, in the budget document itself, there is the discussion of starting early, and I think Councilor Sanchez-Parkinson highlighted our need to do that because we all need to, as councilors, understand, the devil's in the details, and that doesn't mean we're going to look for cuts. It means we need to understand where our priorities are. You've heard me speak about serving the disabled and elderly, and I'm glad we were able to acknowledge our need for that, and then the fact that we've got as many old people in the town as we do young people in the town, and so we've got a lot of work to do with the Aging Council. So again, I think it was a document of compromise, and we should understand that. And I'm fully here to support that work so that we can do more collaborative work going forward.
Thank you, Councilor Carpenter. Councilor Litwin.
Thanks. And I can't see the timer, so please let me know if I'm approaching time. I just want to start by thanking everybody, but also Councilor Schachter, who I think did an exceptional job of navigating what I think was a complex and a stressful process, and I thank her and many others at this table for their good ideas, their efforts, and I do appreciate that the mayor made many reasonable compromises in these past few days particularly, although I strongly believe we had more work to do and more dialogue to happen before it came for a vote. So I think this is a budget that really wants to do everything. And I'm not confident that it's a future-focused budget and is not a budget that sits with the reality that this inflationary environment is very likely a pre-recession environment. We're told it reflects affordability while delivering a 6.5% increase on taxes, drawing down the full 5 cents of the voter-approved public safety funds. We hear about the effects of the Trump administration and other external factors, which I agree with, yet this budget does not scale us back to be able to weather that storm. Much of this budget gap was balanced simply by eliminating unfilled positions. And when I get into the lines, I see things like a 4% cut to scholarships for low-income Burlingtonians to access our park and rec programs at a time when I think we should be investing more due to the effects of inflation on households. Ward 7 happens to also have the most children of all the wards. And we've heard before that this administration wants to use a multi-year budgeting process, and yet I just don't see that happening here. I think we're a very small city, and we simply may need to pause some of the programs and services that we provide. We heard tonight that this council is presented with a choice between looking for deeper reductions or looking for more revenue, as though it's a binary choice. And I think we should be looking for both always. We have we've heard that from this administration, of the importance of not balancing the budget on the backs of hardworking staff, and I agree. But we should always remember that we are building this budget on the backs of hardworking Burlingtonians, every dollar of it. And I think that there are other things that I would have liked to see come out of this budget. I think that we need to really seriously look closer at the cost of our benefits and employees. We just simply may not be able to afford them all. I also think that we should have had a freeze on non-essential travel and training, if it's not required to maintain certification for your job. And I appreciate that we were able to get that reduced by 20,000, but I think this area needs real attention in FY28. The process that we've had over this past few months has not been ideal from my perspective, including that we were not given access to directors and told that all questions had to go through the mayor's office. And then at times I was not getting information that I requested, including some information around a $40,000 roughly special projects fund in the mayor's office that grew from $750 in FY24, and I've had some ideas told to me about what that money's for, but I just needed to see an accounting so that I could make an informed vote tonight. The amount of effort that I think this caucus had to expend advocating for additional funding, for supporting the Heineberg, for investing $150,000 in sworn officers in our downtown, considering the pervasive shoplifting epidemic affecting all of our businesses and the workers who have to respond to it. This while simultaneously drawing down the full 5 cents of the public safety tax. So I'm hopeful that now with the discussions of an FY28 budgetary committee forming quickly, I can get to a yes for next year. But we need to be digging into every departmental budget line in a very intentional way. And this is not a position I enjoy taking, but I feel it's the position that I think this moment calls for. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Litwin. Is there any councillor that has not been heard on this item that wishes to be heard? All right. I think we're over the time allotted for the item, and so we're just going to do one round. Is there any councillor that has not been heard that wishes to be? Okay. Then I think we will go to a vote on the item, and I'll ask that the clerk please call the roll.
Councillor Barlow?
Yes.
Councillor Bergman?
Yes.
Councillor Broderick?
Yes.
Councillor Carpenter?
Yes.
Councillor Grant?
Yes.
Councillor Litwin?
No.
Councillor Newbeezer?
Yes.
Councillor Sanchez Parkinson?
Yes.
Councillor Schachter?
Yes.
Councillor Singh?
Yes.
City Council President Travers?
Yes.
10 ayes, 1 nay, 1 absent.
So with 10 yeses, 1 no, and 1 absence, the motion carries. Which brings us now to our last deliberative item, as mentioned, very much tied to the item that we just passed. This is item 7.6, a resolution on the annual tax assessments on the property grand list of the city for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026 and ending June 30th, 2027. Mayor or CIO Shad, would you like to introduce this item?
Yes, thank you. I'm going to pass it over to CAO Shad for this. This is how we raise the revenue needed for about half of the budget, which again, I appreciate your support on from your last vote.
Thank you, Mayor. As I mentioned at the Board of Finance, we have 2 resolutions for the budget, and we sort of consider them twins because the last resolution told us how we were going to spend the money. And this resolution, as the mayor mentioned, is setting the tax rate, and that raises just over half of the revenue. So if we don't approve this one, we don't have the money to do the spending that we just approved. As you know, the tax rate this year on the municipal side is going up by roughly 5 cents. That is the 5 cents that the voters approved by more than 70% for police and fire. The only other changes to note are some minor changes in both the retirement and debt service dedicated taxes. Those do not require voter approval, and the retirement tax has gone down slightly and the debt service tax has gone up slightly. and those more or less cancel each other out, leading to the overall 5-cent increase in the property tax rate. You can find all of those details in Civic Clerk, along with the resolution, which writes all of this out in sort of confusing language, and we also have a visual chart there. Councilor Carpenter also asked downstairs in Board of Finance for something a little bit more user-friendly, easier to understand, and so I will send that out later this week so that you can pass that on to your constituents. It's also what will appear on the website under assessments on the city page, so that people can go in directly and start estimating what their new tax rate will be. But I'll get that out to you also, that you can start spreading the word. And I think that's it, unless there are questions.
Thank you very much, CIO Shad. Similarly, item 7.5, we do not have a recommended action listed, but would welcome a motion to waive the reading and adopt the resolution.
I would move to waive the reading and adopt this resolution.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Bergman. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Grant. Councilor Bergman, do you want the floor back on this item?
Only to say that we have to pass this to do our fiduciary duty. And as CAO Shad mentioned, what the real increase is the one that the voters, over 70% of whom voted yes, authorized us to do. And it relates to the public safety enhancements that we were just talking about, and that we've all had a commitment to enhancing community health and safety. So I hope that we will pass this unanimously.
Thank you, Councilor Bergman. Is there any other councilor that wishes to be recognized on this item? All right. Yes, Councilor Newbeezer.
Yes, just very briefly, I just wanted to say thank you to CEO Shad and really all of our city staff for all this work. I know that a ton of folks, including the mayor and folks on the council, did a lot of work on this and appreciate that, but wanted to thank city staff in particular, because it's a really tight budget. These are, hard conversations in some cases and relate to folks' lives and jobs. And I was really, really impressed throughout this process in just seeing our city employees at work. So just wanted to shout them out quick. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Newbeezer. Is there any other councilor that wishes to be recognized on this item? All right. Seeing none, we will go to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Or any opposed? That carries unanimously. And that is the conclusion of our deliberative agenda, which brings us now to item 8, City Council General City Affairs, including climate emergency reports and public health and safety updates. Is there any councilor that wishes to be recognized on this item? Councilor Bergman.
Yes, thank you. So I had the great privilege of going to the food shelf, even though it is not actually only a food shelf. It's also got a community resource center. For anybody who's been in the area, you'll have seen the construction for quite some time for the renovations, and last week they opened up to the community, and it was a very good community gathering. One of the things that is really exciting is the number of services. I mean, the Community Resource Center served almost 37,000 meals, and that's to 61% of the people there were unsheltered, which also means that 39% were sheltered. That's a significant number of people that we're serving in that area. And they provide basic needs support and housing navigation and connections to all sorts of services, health and recovery and crisis services. So it's really important. It was very impressive to see the work and the community come together there. And there are everywhere where folks in need congregate and have to go, there's always going to be tension. And one of the things that I've been doing is working with CVOEO, who is the agency that runs that, and the police department, to try to envision a different way of bringing the community together with those people who are being served by that, to really build community. And I look forward. We've got some exciting ideas that we're talking about. So I just, there are great projects, and I'm really proud that they're in Ward 2 in my neighborhood that I go by on my bike like every day. And that people are being served, people are being in community, and people are also talking about the ways that we can do things better. And I'm really looking forward to that, and just wanted to share that. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bergman. Is there any other councilor that wishes to be recognized on general city affairs? Councilor Grant, and then Sanchez Parkinson.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that a couple of weeks ago, we held a clean up and clean out in the Old North End at the 2 elementary schools in Wards 2 and 3. Thank you to Councilor Bergman for helping me to hold it down. It was busy. It was really busy, and I think some of the people who showed up to help out, the invoice that we've just received shows that it was almost 5 tons of garbage that was collected by the 2 dumpsters that we had. We had 2 full dump trucks of tires. We had trailers of scrap metal. We had a number of things. I made 2 trips to Resource to drop off things that didn't need to go into the dumpster. We had people drop off stuff and pick off stuff that was actually okay. So that was really good to see. We still have a lot of stuff on our green belts, though, so we need to now utilize See, Click, Fix if these things are not being picked up by local trash collectors, in order to just continue to help keep our neighborhoods clean. I really think we could have easily done another dumpster, but it was definitely something that was really needed. We had a lot of people who carried a lot of stuff who didn't have cars to bring them. And so it was good to see people working together and helping each other. I also want to bring to people's attention that the Burlington School District has sent out notifications, but just in case people missed it, beginning Monday, June 22nd, next week, the Burlington School Food Project will once again provide summer meals at no charge to kids 18 years old and under. There are no fees, there's no registration, there are no residency requirements. All children are welcome, just show up. Lunch will be every Monday through Friday, and they'll be available from 11:30 to 12:30 behind Edmond School. Supper will be every Monday through Friday, and supper will be provided at Roosevelt Park, which is located at 57 Oak Street, and that'll be from 4:30 to 5:30. They will also be distributing free meal boxes every week. That there is a form that they are asking people to complete if they are interested in one of these meal boxes, just so they know how many to prepare. And those will be starting July 1st through August 12th at the Intervale Center, 180 Intervale Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Grant. Councilor Sanchez Parkinson.
I just wanted to make sure everybody is aware that we have Juneteenth celebrations coming up this Friday. There's a block party at the Kemp Center and then an all-day celebration all over our city. So I hope to see you all around and be able to celebrate the freedom of our community and our city and those who live in our city. So,
Thank you, Councilor Sanchez Parkinson. Anyone else wish to be recognized on this item? Okay, That brings us to very brief City Council President, council updates. One is just to acknowledge that the process by which we'll be selecting our board members and commissioners is now underway. So thank you to Deputy Chief of Staff Zakaris for getting that process up and running as that committee's chair. And then thank you as well to Councilors Carpenter, Barlow, Grant, and Sanchez-Parkinson for being part of that process, with the goal being to hopefully appoint our board and commission members for the coming fiscal year at our last meeting 2 weeks from today. The other item that I wanted to mention for councilors and the public is just a reminder that a week from today is the date that we had warned for the necessity hearing regarding the necessity and compensation hearings for the Cherry Street project. And so additional details and timing regarding that should be forthcoming. And so stay tuned to Civic Clerk on that end. All right, that's it for my council updates, which brings us to the end of our agenda. And seeing no other business before us, absent objection, I will adjourn the city council meeting at 8:20 p.m. Thank you all.
It didn't even need to be plugged in.